Hi YouTube! I'm looking at the microphone. Camera's here. I haven't done this in a while. Did you miss me? As some of you know, I've been incredibly busy, but I did take a day off for one of the most important days of the year, and certainly the most important few days in video gaming news. E3! So earlier today was Nintendo's digital event. So yesterday, Sony and Microsoft did their big thing on stage where they showed all their lineup for the upcoming few years, and today was Nintendo's turn. Without doing a full recap, because this video would go on forever and there's plenty of them available online, I thought that Nintendo did a great job. We got to see a new Star Fox, we got a new Zelda title, there was lots of Animal Crossing delicious goodness, and just lots of other lovely announcements. However, after the conference, when I went online to actually say how much I enjoyed it, I learned that there were quite a few people who were fairly disappointed in what Nintendo had to show today. And I don't like that. We don't like people being disappointed with Nintendo because that's not what we want happening here. So I would like to address some of the concerns that many people seem to have had about Nintendo's presentation today. And I'll be addressing those concerns in the best way I know how, as a Nintendo fangirl. So the biggest thing I saw coming from Twitter and Facebook were people saying there were no new announcements, there were no new games shown. Well, actually, there were. I made a list. So, to be specific, Nintendo showed off 14 games today, 6 of which were brand new, never seen before. We had no notification that it was in development, complete surprises. Those 6 games were Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival, Mario Tennis, Hyrule Warriors for the 3DS, which was actually leaked last week, but you know, it's still an E3 announcement. Just because it got leaked last week doesn't matter. Mario and Luigi, Paper Jam, Legend of Zelda Triforce Heroes, and the new Metroid Prime game. So that's 6 titles as of 2 weeks ago that we did not know were in development. And if you wanted to get a little bit picky, I guess, then also Mother 2, the import to America finally, Earthbound Beginnings or whatever they're calling it, also we did not know was being localized. If you want to compare that to the other 2 big companies, Sony and Microsoft both also had only exactly 6 new games that they announced at their press conferences that we didn't already know existed. And I will put the list down below if you don't believe me. So where I'm going with this is I can understand that people are thinking maybe these games among the surprises weren't smashing, they didn't, you know, throw fireworks up in the air, but they are new announcements for new games that we didn't even know existed, so you're making the wrong argument here. The next argument that I saw quite a bit of was the usual, they weren't as good as Sony and Microsoft. I know a lot of people don't like comparing the companies, but it makes no sense to not compare them. They are competing for many of the same customers, and while you can be a customer of multiple companies, that is not the norm for households. So yes, all of these video game companies are vying for our attention, and in a way, it is a competition. That being said, in many ways, it does not make sense to compare Nintendo to Microsoft and Sony when it comes to their E3 press conference and what you found the most exciting. And there's one reason why that's true. And that reason is the Nintendo Directs that have been going on for the past 2 years or so. So a while back, for those who weren't aware, Nintendo decided to kind of break the mold, and instead of packing all of their announcements into one mega giant incredible E3 announcement that just blew people away, they started doing these really big announcements kind of at random intervals, these things called Nintendo Directs, and they're great. I love Nintendo Directs, I think they're fantastic, but they do exactly what you would assume, and they do kind of steal the thunder away from their big E3 shows. So while for the most part Sony and Microsoft both save all of their big stuff along with the big developers to show off at E3, Nintendo doesn't do that. Nintendo shows off stuff when they're ready to show it off. So a better way to actually look at it, in my opinion, would be to like kind of collect all of the Nintendo Direct announcements from the past 6 or 8 months and pack them together and compare that with what Sony showed off for the year and what Microsoft showed off for the year. I think Nintendo would come out on top in terms of shocking big announcements that really got the hype up on the internet. And then one other thing in terms of comparing Nintendo with Sony and Microsoft is that every single game that Nintendo showed today in their presentation, with the exception perhaps of Skylanders, even though that wasn't really about the game, all of them, 100%, were games that are Nintendo exclusive to Nintendo systems, which is not anywhere near true for Microsoft or Sony, and also games that are coming out, and this is important, games that are coming out within the end of 2015 or the first half of 2016. Like, yeah, it's awesome that Sony showed off Square Enix's Final Fantasy VII remake because it was beautiful, it was shocking, it was what people wanted to see. But guess what? All it was an announcement that it's being made. My guess, 2017 at the very earliest. I know that's the kind of thing that people want to see, but it's also the kind of thing that's going to slowly fizzle over the next several years until finally it comes out and people are like, yay. So while the argument might be made that the games that Nintendo showed off might not be as hype-worthy as the games that Sony and Microsoft showed off, the ones that Nintendo showed off are in a much smaller time window frame thing. Another big comment I saw are people complaining that there's still no Wii U games. Well, excuse me, princesses. Splatoon came out only a few weeks ago, and it is an amazing game. I love Splatoon. I could play it all day, every day. In fact, I played it a lot of today and yesterday while watching E3 press conferences. Splatoon was only one addition to a library of already a good, decent number of good Wii U games. And because the Wii U hasn't sold that great, you can get a lot of those games for really good prices. Really, like, good prices. Go get Wonderful 101 for cheap now. It's good. But then, on top of that, today, Nintendo showed off Star Fox Zero for the Wii U, which looks great. We got new content for Smash Brothers earlier this week, which looks great. Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival looks great, as long as you're willing to buy the amiibos, which of course I am. Yoshi's Woolly World, adorable. Mario Tennis, if you're in a Mario Maker for the creative Mario types out there. And, of course, Xenoblade Chronicles X, which looks incredible. Beautiful. Wonderful. Mwah. So to be clear there, that was 6 games. 6 Wii U games in today's stream of 14 total games. 6. And with the exception of maybe the Mario Tennis game, a lot of those games look really good, and I'm really excited for them personally. So I don't fully understand the there's no good Wii U games argument. There's a lot of good Wii U games. In my opinion, it's more than enough to make up for the price of the system, but I also bought the system on day one, so there's plenty of good Wii U games. Whether or not it's worth it to you is your job to figure out. One quick, this is like argument number 3.5 that I kept hearing on Twitter for some reason, where people saying, oh, they didn't show off Zelda Wii U. We totally knew that Nintendo wasn't going to be showing off Zelda Wii U today. It was something they had pre-warned us ahead of time, and I don't know why people were still surprised. Zelda Wii U is probably, if I had to guess, and this is what I've been saying for a while, coming out in the holiday of 2016. As such, it would be silly to show it off now when people are just gonna have to wait and then see it again next E3 when it's more boring. And then finally, the argument that I was seeing on Twitter and Facebook and elsewhere that really ruffled my feathers a bit, were people saying just things along the lines of, it was bad. Nintendo did bad. I had a lot of personal comments actually that were directed towards me that were saying things like, oh, come on, you know that they did terrible. And I didn't think they did terrible at all. Nintendo has had what I would consider bad press conferences in the past. They've had bad ones. Awkward to watch, literally showing off nothing, bad quality video from different video games. There's been bad stuff coming out from Nintendo in the past. What they did today was a straightforward, these are the games coming out, and a lot of them looked good. Don't get me wrong, I don't think that you need to love everything that Nintendo showed today. I don't think you need to love any of it. I have my own grievances, like why didn't Nintendo show the new Fatal Frame game off? Do we really need another Mario Tennis? And what the heck was that Metroid Prime game, because it looks like not Metroid. But I do challenge you to look at the big picture when making sweeping comments about E3 and the press conferences at E3. People are basing Nintendo's ability as a video game company on the 1 hour they showed, and you could argue that that 1 hour should have been made more special. They should have made that 1 hour perfect. But Nintendo didn't do that, and what people fail to realize is that Nintendo kind of intentionally didn't do it. They really have spread out their announcements not only over the entire week with their Nintendo World Championships, with the Treehouse live streaming, with the Super Smash Bros. Event on Saturday, but over the entire year with all of their Nintendo Directs. Nintendo has a ton of great stuff coming out, not only in this really close launch window of 2015, but beyond, and I'm personally really excited for most of it. 8 of the games that Nintendo talked about today, of the 14, are day one purchases for me. Day one. And most of the others, Sans, probably Metroid Prime and Mario Tennis, are also going to be bought by me eventually. Might just have to see a little bit more. Today, Nintendo showed off a bunch of games successfully that I'm really looking forward to, and in fact, many of which I'm more looking forward to now that I got to see more of them. So in my mind, Nintendo, mission accomplished. And frankly, I know that a lot of the people who are complaining are doing it out of love. They're still gonna buy your games. That's all I have for today, but I hope that you guys aren't mad at me for disappearing for 9 months. And I hope also that you agree with me, because I like it better when people agree with me. Arguing's not fun. Except on Twitter. Sometimes on Twitter. Also, in YouTube comments. I'm okay with arguing in YouTube comments. Leave a comment down below and tell me everything that you disagree with. Until next time, someday maybe. Love you.
Diku diku diku.
And also, please remember that this is all based on opinions. We're all gamers. We're all in this together. I can't even handle the amount of hatred that I saw flying across my Twitter feed today. We just want to play video games. Be nice to each other.